Yes, and we're back live broadcasting from the PUD conference, Preserve, Use and Develop conference, and I'm standing here with Peter Aiers, who is one of the first keynote speaker, and you're the Chief Executive Officer of the CCT. CCT, Churches Conservation Trust. Would you give a small introduction? What is this organization about?
Okay, we're nearly 50 years old, and we were set up to deal with the hugely historic churches in England that no longer had a regular congregation. So we've been looking after historic churches. We've now got 353 of them across England, to make sure that they're open, they're conserved, and they're relevant to communities, but they have no regular congregation. So we're a conservation charity, but we're really driven about engaging communities with historic churches.
Okay. So what are the main challenges that you face in the UK? What is the context?
So the context is always money. We'll come on to money later, but the bigger challenge, I suppose, is that over time less people are going to church in the rural areas where most of the historic churches are, and the congregations that are there are getting older. So we've got to find a way of enabling communities to care for what is local heritage. I mean, these are important local buildings, whilst not having the traditional structure of the parish behind them. So I think it's a very interesting challenge, and it is a lot to do with money. How do you pay for these buildings? How do you keep them in good repair for the future and keep them relevant to communities in this day and age, which seems to be increasingly secular?
And how do you work with that?
So we work very hard by putting our staff on the front line, talking to communities, getting them to create groups to look after these buildings. We have a brilliant maintenance structure which helps look after the buildings that we care for, but we're also working with Quakers and other dioceses to look at how we can provide maintenance for them, and we've just taken over another charity called the Historic Chapels Trust to run them for a year to help support them through a period of change as well.
But I take it as you're talking a lot about taking care of the structure of the church. How about the business of the church, the inside, the content? Do you also work with those questions?
As in
naming services and other...
Well, we don't have a role in the religious life of the building, although we will facilitate that happening. That's what we do. But it's more important that people engage in whatever way they want to with these buildings. I mean, I see our future as really take the concept of caring for the buildings. We're actually going to care for the people who care for the buildings, if you see what I mean. I think that's the right thing to do, to enable people all over the country to get involved and support the buildings as best they can and as effectively as they can.
Are you familiar with the churches in Sweden?
I am. I've been here a few times. What an amazing country. And I've been to some really brilliant churches. Yeah, amazing.
Are there differences, similarities to the context that you operate in?
I think the major difference is how you've organised church membership is a big difference to how it is in the UK. So there's a lot more voluntary giving. Well, I know it's voluntary being a member of the church, but as being Swedish, you're always much more organised than us British. So it's a thing you really sorted out, and I think that's a major difference. But in the end, we're human beings responding to place and a significant building in place, and I don't see any difference between how people perceive the church building itself to how they do in England, really. I don't see a major difference. I think the structures are different, and I think you're in a different place than we are at the moment, facing a slightly different challenge. Ours is more acute than yours right now, but I see that you've got more challenges coming in the future.
So what would you say would be your key points for the Swedish church to take home from your experience?
So I think the key things is to be organised and support the local people who care for these buildings, and find a way of creating an infrastructure that helps them achieve what they want with that building, not taking a central view and not devolving it completely. It's a mixed thing where you support the communities who support the buildings and what happens there.
You spoke a little bit about the subject of money in England. How does the situation look in England?
Well, it's very difficult at the moment. I think we're very lucky in a sense that we get money from the government and we get money from the Church of England. But given that we're getting more buildings, that sources of money tends to decline over time. So we've been working very hard to create commercial enterprise like champing, church camping, and selling our maintenance products to other people to raise money. We have a membership that we try to raise money through. But honestly, I keep saying this, but the real secret is the local community. When they care for a building, they will raise the money that's necessary, or some of it at least, to solve those problems.
So that would really be the key, is the local commitment and the local community to care for their church building.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ongoing maintenance of a church building is not that expensive. So what we call cyclical maintenance, so cleaning the gutters every year, is not too expensive. It's only when there's a big repair bill, like a roof that needs doing, that there's more of a challenge. But if you're slow and steady, most communities could support something, a historic church, with the right support and infrastructure behind them. I believe that.
And now you're opening this conference with the first keynote.
Yeah.
What do you hope to take home with you?
Well, I'm always inspired by visiting Sweden, because I get to have really good conversations and debates with people that frees me from the constraints of my thinking in England, because I don't need to worry about what other people are thinking about in England. I'm at liberty just to hear what's being said. I think the people I meet here are always very thoughtful and inspiring, and I think it's really great and very friendly, and I love coming because it's such a great country.
Thank you, Peter, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much.